Mexico is on high alert.
The operation to capture Mexico's most powerful cartel leader, known as El Mencho, unfolded in a small town near Guadalajara.
Every morning, Guadalajara wakes up like it always does. The past few days, though, it seems like it's holding its breath. An incredible city filled with incredible people, amazing food, in a region with so many tequila distilleries sharing the culture of Mexico. I came out here last week like I always do. And I've been out here where, there's sometimes Mexico it faces some instability. And a lot of times in the news, we see something or they report something and it may not be accurate. And so I've been here at times where somebody says something from home and says, did you hear it's not safe there? Are you okay? And then I ask my friends and contacts here, and they're like, no, we haven't heard anything about that. It's fine. And those trips are always fine. And yesterday morning, I get to a distillery. I'm here with a group. We got to a distillery, and the night before, we all got together. We had an incredible dinner. We're celebrating. We're sipping authentic, genuine tequila. And yesterday morning, we get to the barrel house where we have a tasting set up to go through it. And my wife sends me something that is another one of those like, hey, something just went down. If you're in Puerto Vallarta, Guadalajara, be careful. And she sends it to me like, hey, do you know what's going on? I'm sure it's like all the other times where we want to, hey, fear sells. And yes, Mexico, while it is such a beautiful place, there are areas that you do really need to be careful. And you could do that with anything around the world. You need to be careful. And shortly after, I got probably 6 to 10 messages, like immediately, all saying, you need to get out of there. Stuff is getting real. Something just went down. You need to be safe. And then we found out that the top cartel leader was taken out, I think early yesterday morning, by the military. And that seemed to cause a chain reaction with his people in many parts of Mexico. Guadalajara, Puerto Vallarta, looks like Puerto Vallarta had a lot of issues as well, where they were setting things on fire. They were, causing chaos. And we were immediately in a code red and, shelter in place. And the whole mood of the day, was like, what's happening? We're in an area where we don't have great cell coverage, so we don't fully really know what's going on. And we're getting a ton of people reaching out to us, trying to figure out if we're safe. And we stayed at that distillery all day. It was a different type of trip. It went from, let's celebrate this thing to, hey, let's figure out what's going on in Mexico. And we just happened to be kind of in the middle of it. So we stayed at the distillery all day. I mean, all day. And thankfully we had, plenty of food there. We had plenty of tequila, which didn't hurt. But it was a little more survival. And the distillery has in the backdrop of it is a major highway that connects Michoacan to Jalisco. And we're watching these trucks, these box trucks that would sometimes be in like 2s and 3s and be in form. Like we're going, what? Are they part of this? Is something happening as they're trying to get people off the streets? And finally, before it got dark, we started saying, hey, we need to try to get to our hotel. And we did. And we made it to our hotel. And it was like a ghost town. The sun's going down. The roads are quiet. The roads are usually just buzzing with noise. Different vehicles, dogs running all over the streets. And driving back to the hotel last night, it was a ghost town. And we're still on high alert as we don't know if they are stopping cars because they were doing barricades and things like that. And thankfully we made it. So we've been at the hotel sheltering in place. We're still under a code red, and I'm here all day today. I'm trying to get out tomorrow with the airport, but it just makes you remember that for all the beauty, man, there is instability here. And it's a process. It's not going to be fixed overnight. But we've been here with a group. Everyone's trying to get home. Everyone's trying to let their loved ones know we're okay. It does make you think. And, I just happen to be here. Just bad timing on my part. I happen to be here. It almost puts it surreal, puts you a little bit in denial that like, is this really happening right now? I usually would go out and walk the streets in these small towns that I stay in and go to an OXXO, and then I see that they're burning Oxos. They're setting them on fire. They set gas stations on fire, Costco on fire, and we have to now stay in. Yesterday we were at this distillery that was like a compound. We had armed guards, and it was like anytime the gate would open, if someone was coming in, it would get a little tense. And I had to be honest with like my fear of Mexico. Fear is healthy. You don't want to be consumed by it. We've got people that were in this group that this was their first time ever being in this area. This was their first time doing a tequila trip, going to a distillery. And there was even one girl who, she was the fiance of someone that worked for the brand. And so she thought, hey, I got the opportunity to come. When am I going to be able to do this again? And she was telling me yesterday, leading up to this, my parents were giving me such a hard time. Don't go to Mexico. Don't do it. It's not safe. You shouldn't be going. And I get that a lot from people that don't really know what's going on with Mexico. And again, there is danger here. Absolutely. I would never say, no, it's 100% safe. No, there is danger here. But I'm here 10, 12 times a year. And this is the first time where I have felt not fully safe. And I hate that for this guest who, she's going to go back home and her parents are probably going to say, I told you so. And it did make me start to think of like, okay, the fear of this place, to understand Mexico at times can be unstable, but it's also beautiful. And Mexico, while the streets right now are somewhat empty, and while the stores, the taco stands, while they're not open, they will be again, and the streets will be buzzing with music and noise and dogs barking, because Mexico is resilient. We're all here at the hotel. There are some people that don't have rooms because when they had to check out, they couldn't go anywhere, and people were sleeping in conference rooms. I've got the outside here next to me with the pool, and there's people out there because they're trying to just get through the day as we're here, and we're not supposed to be out on the streets, and we don't know how much longer that's going to last. And the goal of this trip, we came here to celebrate. We came here to continue to tell an authentic story about Mexico agave tequila. I've spent the past 6 years telling the story of the people here making this incredible spirit as they do it in an authentic way, just like it was done hundreds of years ago. And to go from celebration to fear, again, a reminder of the instability. And I think maybe sometimes we need that reminder. It almost can give me a little bit of a guilt feeling because, we're here with incredible people that are working in the industry. They're at the distillery, and they still want to make sure that we're having a great time. They want to make sure, as we're cleaning up things at the distillery, as we're having dinner outside, and, we're going to hit the road. Well, there are people still there that we're finishing up. And I'm thinking, well, they still have to go home. They have to hit the streets, and they have to go home. And for me, this is a story. I'm going to get home soon at some point, and I'm going to have a story. But the reality is, the people that live here, this is their reality. And there is a little bit of guilt in that, to honor them, to continue to tell the accurate story. But for us, we get to come and go, and they're going, hey, this is what we live with. This is Mexico. And I never fully thought about it in that way until something like this happens. And I know people are going to ask, does this change the way you think about Mexico? Would you go back to Mexico? It's the reminder. And I'm going to come back to Mexico. I'm going to continue to come back. I've got multiple trips already planned. But it is the reminder of, hey, when you are in a country that isn't always stable, that has a lot of moving parts, things can happen. And so, while last night I had to have a go bag, and just in case something were to happen at the hotel, and always have your passport on you, I usually don't think like that when I'm here. Every time when I'm here, the people are always saying, my house is your house. You're welcome anytime. They're so welcoming. And yes, this trip, they've continued to be welcoming. but it's heightened of everyone just wants to make sure everyone is safe and taken care of. So no, it hasn't really changed my perspective of the region in the country. It's a reminder, though, that there's still a lot of work to do, a lot of stabilization, a lot of healing. And hopefully Mexico can eventually achieve that, because this place is special. This place is amazing. And being here, almost like we're trapped here, it's another reminder that we're not always in control. And we're making the best of it. And by no means are we slumming it. This is a nice place, and there's a pool out there, and there's kids, and there's music playing, and they're trying to forget that on the outside of this place, if you go outside this gate, in certain parts, there is chaos. And the reminder again of we are not in control. And now I'm here, and I've been in this room for a long time. Gotta find food at some point. I think they do have a bar, so that's good. But we're not in control. But we're gonna do the best with what we have. And just like Mexico, we will get through this. And tomorrow's gonna be another day. The light shines in the darkness, and the darkness cannot contain it. I think one of the hardest things was also not knowing what's happening. You know, it starts out like, what's going on? Oh, we're gonna be inconvenienced, to all of a sudden, as you start to get the information, you go, man, this is serious. This is much bigger than we thought. This is serious. And, you know, anything can happen. And for the most part, we've felt safe driving on the roads. Like we're going to have to eventually get on the roads again to go to the airport. Hopefully we will be fine. I believe we will be fine, but you just never know. And you start to think of your family. You start to think of like, oh, I'm here. And I'm not in control. And, I've got a 10-year-old son and a wife at home that I want to get back to. And, my son was around my wife when we were talking on the phone. And while I don't think he fully understands what's going on, as he was asking my wife going, I don't get, so a bad man, someone got killed, or somebody died and they had to shut down the airport, they had to cancel flights, they had to stay off the road. So he's, in his 10-year-old mind, he's trying to figure out what's going on. My wife was supposed to fly out yesterday to meet me for the remainder of this trip that was supposed to last multiple more days. And he's trying to put it all together. And you start to feel like, man, what if something did happen to me? Like my wife texted me, she said, hey, could you call our son? He seems like he's a little down, because maybe he was starting to get it. And so I call him, and I'm trying to, just remind him of how much I love him. And, there's a small part in the back of your mind where you're like, I hope I get home, and again, I'm going to make it home. We're going to be safe. Things are calming down, but it is real. It is real. And the thought of, as I'm putting on a brave face for my son, of just saying, hey, I'm going to see you soon. I love you. And, trying to make it light. There was a moment in my mind of like, man, what if something does happen? And I don't know what's going to happen. And I've never felt those feelings before here. I've never felt those feelings before here. So I will be back. But this leaves an impact, again, of the reminder of, man, so much beauty, so much amazing culture and people, but we have to be careful. And we're not always in control. And I am learning that a lot in my life, and I was reminded of that come yesterday morning. People are going to watch the news, and they're going to see headlines, and they're going to think that this is about the cartel. It's about the families. It's about the ordinary people that live here day in and day out, and every day choose to get up and keep going and keep surviving, even when power shifts overnight. Because the reality is, leaders will fall and headlines will fade, but Guadalajara will always remain. This city has lived through violence before. It's buried it, it's adapted to it, it's outlasted it. Maybe resilience isn't loud. Maybe it's waking up the next morning and just choosing not to leave.